while you guys are doing that, we're going to do some introductions. So keep doing what you're doing. When you're done and you're all looking up, then we'll know that it's all complete. Okay, so we're going to start with to my left. We're going to do an intro of your name, dealership, accounts, and sort of your concentration mix.
Ed McDaniel. I've got with Bond Automotive in Tampa, 2 stores in Tampa, and I'm doing about 90-some-odd% leases and some other cash and some odd retail installment contracts here and there. So,
all right.
1,400 accounts.
Hi, my name is Marcela Rodriguez. We're based in Houston, Texas. We are doing leases, nothing but leases. We have about 1,400 accounts, and we start doing leases in May 2020.
Good. Junior Cardozo from Car Connections, Massachusetts. We are up to almost 400 accounts right now. We do 100% leasing. I hate to sell cash deals. I love leasing. We do use Deal Pack. That's important information. And that's it.
I want to chime in here that Junior, I met Junior in person here last year at this event. And he said, Tim, I want to be on the panel next year. You're going to see that I will be ready to be on a panel next year. And I no offense, Junior, I was like, you know, that's it. I mean, it's a tough thing when you're getting started in your respective lease space to then be proficient enough to be up here. And I love that you're up here now, and you get to add a different perspective because you have a shorter runway than some of these other dealers. So
but he didn't get it was a joke. So, but thank you for bringing me here anyways.
But when the time came, I said, I want Junior up there.
Yeah, hopefully we can share some good information.
Yeah. All right. So what do we got, EO?
We got our results. So the first topic is going to be underwriting.
Okay. So this is for you all. From an underwriting perspective, what sort of questions do you have? And what I'm going to start to do first is, what's your underwriting policy?
We have a scoring model that we don't, it's a scientific scoring model, but we don't apply it that deeply, for every deal. It's more of we've been pushing the down payments. That's been sort of my background, is we always wanted to push the down payments for various reasons, for risk mitigation and so forth. And part of what I wanted to talk about on this topic is it seems like, take from David's point on this earlier and some others, that most everybody's got the lower minimum down, and then going up from there as if you need to lower the payments and so forth. Is that what pretty much is that kind of universal now, or? And secondly, in this environment we're in, is anybody doing anything differently to address the inflationary pressures that we have, both in terms of inventory and the softening demand, apparently? So.
Yeah, let me ask that around. So from a show of hands, how many of you have changed your underwriting practices based off of the current market state? Nobody's changed anything? I think that's good information, right? We're moving along at the same underwriting standards. Okay, go ahead.
So we use Addison to do our scoring system. We've been using it for quite a while. We use it to do the stability and how much the customer can afford and all kind of stuff. But recently we started using NEO to do our income verification. They kind of connect with the banks directly, so it's a very easy way to confirm that the income that they say and they have is really what they really have. So we believe that's more accurate than in underwriting doing the clicking and answering the questions on Addison. So I'm more based on that. We're exploring the possibility of changing it to NEO, but we're in the process of deciding. But overall, the customer brings the application, the salesperson does the application, a loan officer reviews the application, they do all the questionnaire with this Addison or NEO, and then based on those factors, we decide whether it's somebody that we want to do or not. We get about 340 applications a month, and we only approve about 38% of those. So we kind of like, we pick and choose for the most part, and still I think we have quite high repos, and so I'm open for suggestions as far as
Yeah.
artisan goes, underwriting goes, because I think we're being very specific and picky about it. And then sometimes when we get that repossession, we go back and look at the application, and random people look at it and they say, I would do it again. Today, I would do it again because it looks like a really good app based on income and stability. And we try to track the ratio, debt to income ratio, but the payment not to be no more than the 1/4 of the total income, net income.
25% of net income, okay.
So funny that she said that she's so picky with underwriting and still with a high amount of repossessions, and we don't check credit. I don't have an underwriting process, and we have less than 7% repossession amount right now from the total sales of the month or the total active accounts we have. The reason for that is to talk about underwriting, I have to explain a little bit how Massachusetts works, because every state is different. That's the beauty of this industry. And in Massachusetts, we sell mostly to immigrants. You guys didn't notice my accent, right? My English is, yeah. So I'm from Brazil, and I have a very good relationship with the community there. And they feel much more, the idea we had to open Car Connections was because the hard time I had when I came to the United States in 2019, and I had a huge hard time to buy a car. So I met Tony, we had the idea to open Car Connections, and we want to provide that service, that, red carpet service that you guys Americans have in a regular dealership to also immigrants that don't have credit, don't have social, don't have a driver's license, and that's been working pretty well for us. They pay, I was showing off to you actually about my payment spread, right?
Yeah,
They pay a
that's
huge
right.
amount of weekly payments to us, and they pay very good, they pay on time, and that's working. I just check if they have a bank account. That's the minimum requirement because we charge ACH. And they have to have some driver's license, even if it's from Brazil, I don't care. And they have to have a work, that's all.
Yeah.
And if they found a work yesterday, we sell to them.
So by a show of hands, how many of you approve more than 80% of your applications?
No.
They're approved, whether they're rolling or not, it's cash.
Approved but not delivered, okay,
Basically.
okay. Okay, that's good. What about higher than 50%?
Yeah.
Okay, David.
I was gonna say, do you need like a conditional improvement? Because you could have a customer that I'm gonna approve at $7,000 down. They're approved, but they're probably not gonna roll. Is that what you're asking?
Well, that's a good question. How do you do it? You said you have a 38% approval rate of
Well,
all the applications that you get in.
38% closing rate. let's
Closing
put it that
rate.
way. And approving, yes, we're gonna come back and see us with a bank statement, come back and see us with more down payment, come back and see us with, whenever you have 6 months at least living and working what you say you are. And I guess going back to the repossession a lot, I guess a lot is a very subjective term because I think it's a lot, but I just heard you repossess 7%, we repossess in a 4%. So I guess it's more like a number is better than a lot or a little, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
exactly. Okay, underwriting questions. Joe.
North Carolina is where our dealerships are, and they made it to where we can't get vehicles registered without a North Carolina driver's license, and made it very hard on our Latino community to get driver's licenses. Is there a way that you know to do that through,
Yep.
get it with a Brazilian?
So the thing is, I found a solution going to Maine, a neighbor state. Maine's a very small state. They love to receive registration fees. So we go there, they even don't ask for a driver's license. That's the solution that I found. You can find a state nearby you and see if you can register there. Or Maine accepts addresses from Massachusetts, insurance from Massachusetts. So it's pretty unique. And my customers don't complain. They just need to have the car to go to work. But Massachusetts is being very, giving the same hard time you have, and they are giving to us. So they suspend registrations that are attached to a Brazilian driver's license. It's pretty hard. Hopefully they'll get better next year. They are approving driver's license to immigrants next year, hopefully.
No doubt. In Texas, if you don't have a social security number, you cannot have a driver's license. We still able to sell a vehicle and register the vehicle under the name even if they don't have a driver license. So that's the funny thing about the laws, right? So they say you can have a driver license if you don't have a social security, but you can buy a house and you can have
Yep.
insurance and you can buy a car
Mhm.
if you don't have a social security. So,
Yep.
you know, whatever, I think it works on our interest. And we do get insurance before they leave the lot, just to make sure that they've been responsible out there with the car and with the law. And there's insurance providers that they do it, even if they don't have a driver license, so we do it. We cannot register with a matricula or none of that stuff, but we can do it with driver license from any other state and with a passport, with a valid passport from any country. So that's how Texas do our registration, so we allow it to do it.
Ed, what's your experience?
With undocumented? Well, we're looking at that. I don't have a lot of experience in that particularly, but I'm looking at it, and it would be, we could do a lot more volume if we got into that, but I'm not sure, I don't really understand the risk profile exactly. And some of the risks that I'm aware of are, to your point about insurance, I don't know that you can hold them accountable for insurance over the term. They could perhaps, drop insurance in 30 days. In fact, Chad would mention a point last night about with the Graves Amendment with leases. Are we confident that's going to cover if there's some catastrophe? We're on the title of those vehicles, and I don't know the answers to those. At this
Yeah,
point.
well, I think the answer to that is that it's continued to hold up.
Okay.
And so
All right.
there isn't any case precedent that challenges that we're aware of.
Good news. That's good news. Okay.
It is good news because we follow it pretty closely.
Yeah. Okay.
Other underwriting questions, or does anybody have a response that they have to that question that Joe had?
I got one.
Yeah.
So obviously, in kind of traveling all over the place, we get the question all the time about, underwriting and what do you do and what did you used to do? And it was kind of a combination of, it's all manual underwriting. It's, I use a service and we manually underwrite based on what that service says, or I trust Neo completely, and if they can fog a mirror and Neo says yes, we sell them a car. And and you see that people are successful in all of those, and people are also unsuccessful in all of those ways. So I'm just curious, with kind of the automated systems being more popular now, is there anybody who has said, I'm going to remove myself from the equation because of some type of confirmation bias I have, and is solely allowing the system to make the majority of decisions? Somebody raise your hand so I can have a follow-up.
I would say we allow our system to solely make the decision, and it's the principle of what I think the whole business rests on is, does the vehicle meet the customer's needs, and can they afford it? And if they have a job and they have the down payment, and the payment's less than 20% of their net income, they're approved. And it's,
Because there's a lot of times I don't like the deal, and we're like, I wish I could get out of it, but they meet all the.
we have a one-page application, we ask for 5 references that we don't check, and, it's does the vehicle meet their needs, and can they afford it, and that's our criteria, and we have stuck to it, and we have as good a collections as anybody else.
It's almost like we rehearse that, because that is pretty much what you find, is that what it really boils down to, even for someone who's, a low approval percentage is what I always had. And no matter how well you got or how tight, it was like you always had, this much charge off, this much delinquency. What it boils down to is exactly what you said: character, capacity to pay, and is the car running. If you can keep those 3 things in line, they'll usually pay. But trying to figure out which customer in your portfolio is going to go bad, it's like the worst ones make it to the end, and the one you thought was a no-brainer is done in 6 months.
If you could figure it out, we wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Because the banks would be doing it.
No, good.
Is there always a GPS involved in all this decision-making, though?
All of our vehicles have GPS.
I never used GPS for 20 years.
Tim, can I say something?
Yeah, please.
In our case, just to complement your saying there, if the customer comes to me and he still doesn't have a job, but he has the $2,000 that I charge down payment for, I really don't care if he doesn't pay 1 weekly payment. Because after 4 payments, I'll go there, grab the card again. My ACV came down from 10,000 to 8,000 because he just gave me 2,000, and I sell it again. So even if he doesn't have a job, he tells me, sell me the car, I'll do a delivery. I will do Uber Eats. Then I'll pay you with the money that I'll make with the car. I trust him. If he doesn't pay, car is mine. Right?
Yeah, appreciate that, Junior. How many of you, or I guess this is just sort of an open question, so in response to Brett's with the underwriting criteria, does anybody believe that if they do get a higher down payment, if you are using a scoring system and you're down in a D or a C level, that with a higher down payment you can get a better quality?
Big towns come from bad places. That's the rule of thumb. Big towns come from bad places.
I'll say this, is, yes, I'm gonna deliver their car, and I'm gonna have less in it when I get it back in 30 days.
Okay.
We're together on this, then.
It might have 2 GPS now.
Yeah?
And I'm just stand on that one, you can buy your way in this deal. I mean, it doesn't make, you want that car and that's the car you want.
That's yours.
Yeah.
Go win a couple blackjack hands and come on and see me.
Okay. Well, I'm curious, Ed, what you think, because you were CEO at Holmes Motors for a long time, which was larger down payments, and now you're running your own show. So well, you were running it then, but now you're completely responsible. Where are you at?
Well, I'm moving more toward the group here, and that's because the data is clear, and so the higher down payment model at that time previously at Holmes was more really not very much underwriting at all. It really didn't care about what we're talking about too much. Just a big down, and that saves us. You know, you hope that the person's got skin in the game enough to where, you know, they don't do anything bad or take off with the car or whatever. But so I'm moving more toward a standardized, you know, down system here.
Okay.
At this point.
Okay. I think I saw a question over here. Was it you, David?
I was just gonna say, I never felt like down payment gave me a better customer per se. I just felt like it made me feel better about the risk from a bad customer.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably true. Is that?
A less than good customer, I guess.
But I
Yeah.
think I'm with Cowboy, though. I think what Cowboy was saying about we're going to move the down payment up, though, in those cases where, look, you just have to have, you know, you have to have a lot more and lower payment to make it work if you really want the car, and that's,
You want that car?
yeah,
I mean,
not,
I can be bought.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Be bought for the price.
Okay. Nice. How many of you feel like we've exhausted the underwriting topic and we should move on? So by a show of hands, are you ready to move to the next topic? Awesome. Okay. Preparation for recession, downside and upside. Is there anything that you're doing or thinking about as a recession is potentially looming?
Well, following the demand part of the equation real closely, which we've already heard a lot about here today, which is good. And being more conservative overall with inventory purchases and so forth, not getting too far out on a limb with anything, you know, at this point.
Okay.
Our price, the inventory has changed, recently has changed, but we've keeping it pretty much straight since we started in May 2020. So we know necessarily thinking much about the price of the car. I'm trying to keep the price of the payment amount more, affordable. I'm trying to stay on a payment amount that the customer can still pay, that I don't have to go and get the car 2 months, 3 months because they can afford it. So if that means tweaking the pricing a little bit or tweaking the growth a little bit, I'm much rather to do that. I'm not willing to extend the loan. I'm not willing to go much up the price. It has increased from $480 to $500. So it's a $20 per car, but still no higher than that. I want to stay still with the customer can pay. And then another thing that I think we haven't done much about it is work with the customer as far as extensions go, edits, deferments. We have 1,400 accounts. We did 17 edits last month, which is like not even half a point or 0.5%. So I think we have a lot of opportunity to help customers. They're gonna start seeing, payment being late, income being reduced, asking for extensions. So I'm training the collections team to be working with the customer a little bit more than we were working before, because of course hard times are coming and they don't have the much money that they used to have in the previous months. So I think that's one of the tweaks that we want to do. We want to keep the payment amount where we're still making money, but not completely unaffordable for the customer. And second, be able and willing and open to work with the customers a little longer and do more deferments and more due date changes if they need it, because let's be honest, these people change jobs very, very often, and I often hear the collector trying to lecture these people about, you have another job again, and why do you need another due date change? In my opinion, that's irrelevant. You shouldn't even care about it. They calling you, letting you know that they change jobs, so just shut up and get the money, you know?
Yeah.
Literally, shut up and get the payment. Don't question these customers about their decisions in life because they don't even know.
Something Joe Seagrave has always said is that his customer profile, they can always find a job. They're the best at finding jobs to make the payment. You had a question?
What's your average, is there an average interest rate you charge? Is it different for everybody? And then also, second question, is it biweekly payments or just monthly payments, or how do you handle payments for everybody?
For us, we 21% of the APR, and the majority of our payments are biweekly. I think 80% of our payments are biweekly, about probably 12% semi-monthly, and the rest monthly. We hardly have any monthly. But if the customer at some point requests to be monthly, even though they don't get paid monthly, but that's the way they're gonna accommodate the budget, I'm willing to change it.
So you want to get paid when they get paid?
I wanna get paid when they get paid because it's easy for them and easy for me to collect. But if they requesting something different and they have proven that they can manage, and if they're gonna make it easier for them to manage, I do it, even if they don't get paid that way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Junior. Junior,
Yeah,
go ahead.
Junior.
Since we started Lease Here, Pay Here, March 2020, we learned a lot about pricing. And you know, one of the things that I learned the most is if they want to be served well, they have to pay for it. So we have a bunch of things that are included in our deal. We do oil change, filter change. We do the whole process online, the contract. We deliver cars to their houses. We do a lot of things that, you know, to come up with a better service for them. Even if they don't have a social, they don't have credit, but I make them pay for that. So they pay, you know, a good APR. I go by the payment spread, actually. I try to take my ACV, which is now about $10,000, $11,000, and I try to receive from that car 25, 26 with the residual included. So that gives me 42 to 55% APR average, depending on the car.
So if you're thinking about the money factor, it's a rent charge, and then we're trying to back into an implicit rate in the lease or an APR equivalent. From a legal standpoint, you can add so many things to the money factor as long as it's itemized on your lease. It doesn't necessarily have to have a amount of money that it costs on the lease, but it needs to be itemized at zero, as this is part of the rent charge. So your rent charge might be 45% if you're including all these other aspects that you can defend if you ever need to. By a show of hands, from an implicit rate in the lease standpoint, how many are above 20%? Okay. How many are above 25%? Okay. Ed?
Most biweekly, pretty much exclusively, except for if they really prove out, you know, Social Security or whatever on a monthly, they need a monthly for some reason. Otherwise, it's got to be biweekly. And we have a higher gross margin markup right now and a lower, about a 9.9% money factor. But I'm looking at, what I've gathered here is a lot of folks do that, a lower gross and a higher rate. Of course, you get the buyouts and you get those kind of deals. But right now, I'm about a 60% gross and a 9.9% money factor.
And just to give you a baseline of the dealers that we lend to, their average money factor is 0.009166, and 21% is about it. So you're in the ballpark. Trick.
I like what you're just saying. One of the things I'd love feedback on, now we've reached the point where we're getting close to or
So the question is, how are you handling an early termination fee or really the disposition fee? Early termination fee or disposition fee or
Well,
both?
I mean, if it's like a buyout fee, or I think disposition fee, if it's spelled out that it's for taking the vehicle someplace, that would imply that they're giving it back to you. But let's say that they're going to buy it out. They've called up, they want to do their payoff, they go either residual and a couple payments left, but technically they also owe a $1,000 early termination fee. At what point, fair is fair, right? I'm just trying to be realistic. Like, at that point, it would make more sense for them to pay, a couple payments and then exercise their rights. So I just wonder how the group handles that.
Great question. How many of you have an early termination fee built in your lease contract? Anyone up here?
We do.
You do. What's your early termination fee?
$595. But if the customer is gonna come back, buying another car, if it's a total loss, if I wanna put it back in the car, anything that is gonna come back, I waive the fee all the time. Very few customers pay the termination fee if they wanna terminate the lease early, because we do promote a lot of, if something happened, like the previous panelist, something happened, life changed, you're not able to pay, don't ruin your credit, don't mess your credit, just come back and return it and pay the $595. We have a lot of customers doing that, luckily. But if it's gonna be a dealership, this paying it off, like the residual and everything else, we don't charge for it. I mean, if we're gonna terminate the lease in a good note and everything is gonna get paid, I'm not gonna worry about the $595.
If you don't, you have an early termination fee, you should, because it's one of the indicators of a true lease, and if you ever get challenged in a bankruptcy case or anything else, it's one of the ways you're gonna win the case. So if you don't have that in your lease contract, you should.
As the 20% residual that I learned here too. Remember that?
Yeah, exactly.
So we charge $1,000 residual, termination fee. And I use that as a resale strategy because they come to me after 8 months. I don't want the car anymore. What should I do? So if you literally just return the car to me, I have to charge you $1,000 termination fee. But I have another idea. Go there and try to find someone to take over your car. They bring it here. I don't give warranty again, nothing that. They just take over. We register the car again. I charge a new down payment for it to cover the costs. And they usually find a new person to take over the car, a friend, a family member. And then they never pay the termination fee. I just use it to, if you don't bring someone, then you're going to pay.
Sure.
They always find it.
That's a unique strategy. Has anybody else thought about doing that?
Now everybody's going to do it.
Anyone else on the termination fee?
Not termination fee, but I'm wondering, you were saying about, I'm just starting with leasing, and I'm worried about the customers taking care of the car. You were saying like free oil changes and stuff. That's a
Yes.
great idea. Do you use security deposits? Can that be used to entice the customer to take care of the car?
No, I don't charge security deposits. I don't use security deposits. The thing is, I face that. I was very cheap when we started. I didn't like to give anything to the customer because I assumed there was a waste of cash flow and. But after they returned the first cars, I saw they returning beat up cars, and that is still our asset. So we got to protect them, right? I'd rather invest a little bit on service department, have a few mechanics available for oil change and filter change, but we know our cars are being taken care of, because they are always stopping by, having appointments to change the oil, and those are the most important things. And also, having the oil changed is an opportunity to see the car in person. So you're always going to double check the car and see if they are doing something wrong with it. I like to watch the mileage too, because I have a lot of drivers. They do Uber Eats and Lyft in Uber, so they drive 10,000 miles per month. Yeah, that's a lot. They drive a lot. I mean, it's not everybody, but we have like probably 15% of our customers today.
Do you have a mileage restriction in the lease?
I do. It's 12,000 miles per year. But the good thing is all these guys they work with delivery, they pay very well and they want to keep the car. And if they want to swap the car in the future, they are willing to pay all the fees. So it's still a good customer. Did I answer your question?
Back to the preparation for recession. Something that I'm curious of is when Chris was giving his presentation, he was talking about basically the employee salary, wages, going up, but based off of inflation, they're really in a negative impact. Is anybody concerned about that with the interest rates that you might be paying for the money that you're borrowing and your customers' inability to accept a higher payment?
Definitely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the central big issues I think we have right now going, and this last print, this last inflation number, CPI was, so they may be working and making the same or more money perhaps, but the dollars they have are going down, still going down dramatically, so yeah.
Every time I see Kelly's email coming in, I go, oh my God, again, 1 more %.
It's the Fed. It's the Fed.
Sorry, Kelly. I'm just joking.
No, when I started this talk at the beginning of today, it was the brutal facts. Those are brutal facts that we have to confront. And you all as operators are feeling that more than anyone. So what are we all thinking? How do we prepare for that?
Cowboy? How are we preparing for that?
He's texting Nick now.
Everything's, in Utah, you're not affected, I guess.
Not at all. We got low unemployment. McDonald's is paying $20 an hour.
Really?
No, 19, sorry, I was corrected, $19 an hour. These people are making more money than they know what to do with. I'm just hoping we get all of them.
So in your mind, you're thinking we can raise the payment and the customers will tolerate it.
We were looking at it, we're like, we really haven't raised the payment. I mean, these people making $12 an hour paying us $430 a month. Now they're making $19 an hour and our payment's barely on like $480. I'm like, we could probably squeeze another $50, $60 out of them easily.
What's the risk in increasing the customer payment?
You get a lot more terminations. And I'm with Marcella from earlier. I think you want to try to manage it and keep it lower and keep it going, maybe extend the terms perhaps. But,
We'll shorten the term down and get more. I've had a couple of the exceptions that 36 payments. They can afford it, I'm in.
By a show of hands, how many of you have increased your payment to your customers in the past year? Okay, so about half. Does that encourage anyone who hasn't increased their payments that they might be able to? The inventory is more expensive. The Fed has increased rates.
We increased it, but not to a point that break the bank, or have repossessions. It's caused by that anyways. People are gonna lose jobs or something's gonna happen and they may end up repossessing anyways, but at least it's not because we shoot too high and put someone for failure. And going back to the interest rates on the loans, we are owned by a trust. We are self-bank, so our APR or interest on our loan or line of credit is very low. So we're lucky we placed on that, and it's been kind of steady and staying steady for a while. So at least we don't have to worry about that one factor. Well, many others, but not that one.
Kelly has an email on her.
Definitely not. Dude. Oh, my term is 168 weeks, which gives us 3 years and 3 months. And I think if I go over that, you guys won't fund us, right? Because it has a limit, right? 42 months?
42 months, but we recently increased it to 48 months. So if any of you are customers of ours and you would like to finance longer to 48 months, that's something we provide now.
That's good.
Good question, Junior. Okay, let's go through this line just a little bit further. Used EVs forecast. Plans to adopt or not adopt EVs. By a show of hands, how many of you are thinking about this question? What do I do with EVs? Maybe like 30%. Anyone up here thinking through it at all?
Not yet.
Not
hate
yet.
electric
Not
cars.
yet.
Not
Not yet.
Maybe open for the future, but not yet.
I had better experiences with electric cars, so we tried to buy a few of them. That battery is like more expensive than my own house. It's $5,000 to fix a car like that. It's not worth it. Not for now.
Who here has a plan that you're kicking around?
Will Teslas be able to repo themselves? Like if I lease a Tesla and they go back, I just push a button, have it drive home. Come back home, baby, absolutely.
Yep,
That, I mean, my
Matter of
remote
time.
cost just went down,
Your GPS too?
and my GPS, oh yeah, the first one, come home
Double savings?
with or without the customer.
yeah, so Tesla's planning on increasing their output 50% every other year. So they're ramping up to be able to have 10 million units a year in production by mid-2020s. Well, I think the thought process is those are going to have to end up in a remarketing situation at some point. So at what point do they reach our customers?
As long as we figure out how to replace the Duracells, we'll be good. All we have to do is
Yep.
change out the Duracells.
All right, let's hit one more of these topics, and then we'll take a break. Let's see what's next. Secrets of acquiring inventory. I'm sure we all want the secrets to acquiring inventory. I love that. What are you doing to get inventory, Ed?
Just the traditional, have buyers in the lanes and, you know, nothing, no better mousetrap at this point.
We've been doing business in Houston for over 20 years in the buy here, pay here. During the year, we have developed a relationship with local vendors, wholesalers. So we haven't been really seeing shortage of cars, not for us. We have our buyer, and he was buying some of the inventory online a few months ago, whatever. But our wholesalers, they coming back with us with more cars. With just from one wholesaler, we pay about $500,000 last month directly to him just for cars. And the good thing about that is he brings the car to us. He goes buy it and do whatever he needs to do. He comes and brings us a car. We can see it. We can keep it for a few days. We can, diagnose and check it. And if we like it, we keep it. And if we don't like it, we just take it back and no harm, no foul. We don't have to pay anything. There's no transportation fees. There's no buying fees. So for us, has worked during the years, and they got they backed up a little bit of a few months ago, and because they were making more money buying them and holding them and then sending to the auction, they were making more money doing it that way. But I think the dancing with the pretty girl is gone, and they're coming back to us with a lot of cars. So we haven't suffered on that aspect at all. I mean, we've been blessed. We've been blessed on that.
Junior.
Well, I have a few. First of all, I don't stick with only one type of source to buy cars. I don't go only to the regular auctions. I mean, we have a bunch of auctions that we have access to, but besides that, our employees, they are also buyers. I ask them to, always the one driving, they see a car in a driveway that has for sale, is a nice car, just take a picture and send it to me. We're gonna buy that car too. We also buy from Facebook Marketplace. Have a bunch of people selling cars right there. You can lowball them, they accept it because they have probably a loan on it. They have to sell their car as soon as possible. And we also, offer people that, we have a very good location in Somerset, so people are driving by and they see we have a dealership, they stop by, they want to have their car checked out and see if we can make an offer. I always make an offer. And besides that, the auctions, I love to bid in cars. ACV is an auction that I use a lot currently because they have this 15 minutes timeline to finish the auction, and I love to go there like 10, 11 p.m. when you don't have that much competitors, So my wife is sleeping with myself on buying cars. Yeah.
How many are using all of those traditional models, but you're doing something else? Raise your hands. What are you doing, Cowboy?
We have our salespeople hitting up on Craigslist. It's part of their big one now, to buy cars for us, and then we have some other kids to help take it off of Nick. Buying online, we found some of our employees that were very good at computers and they're not biased on their cars. So we just give them a list and they just sit there and go for hours. It's fantastic. Just a little let them loose. They might be on the spectrum or not.
Brett, what do you got?
So the most creative thing that I've seen, and I only have 3 people who have actually committed to doing this and are doing it really well, is they've kind of weaponized
I love that.
Everybody's buying them behind MMR, but, you know, the other guy is doing that, but he also made himself like a Kelly Blue Book buying center. And the only problem with that is you have to buy everything. So if somebody shows up with a Ferrari, you're buying it. And you gotta get it to the auction if you're gonna drive it. I think that, you know, a lot of people in this room probably started off buying cars out of the paper, visiting people, writing checks. And like he said, there's a lot of people out there who are getting out of their 2020 because it's a $700 payment and they're going down to a 2015. So not only are they buying their car, they're also selling them another one. It's the only thing that I've seen that's worked outside of all the other things that we do, but the people who really commit to it are getting great results off.
That's good stuff. Thanks, Brett. Last thing is I just want to give you a little bit of information about from a portfolio standpoint, the average from the dealers that we're financing, our 2014 vehicle, 96,000 miles on it. The top makes and models are the Nissan Altima, Hyundai Elantra, Toyota Corolla, Ford Fusion, and Chevy Malibu. Is that resonating with everybody here?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. All right, well, hey, thanks everybody. So let me check the timing and we're going to take a break and then